while I'm living in my car again, my aunt reached out and she said she was moving out of the home that she was living in and she was moving into a different place. And if I wanted to come back home to North Carolina, I could live in her home that she's moving out of, which is a 3 bedroom. And I would only have to pay, I believe it was $400 a month to live there for a 3 bedroom. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so wild. Like, here's an opportunity. Like, this is crazy. And I'm like, whoa. I was like, I guess I'm going to do this. I had a feeling that was like, oof. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I like fully feel. It felt weird because it did. Like, when I heard it, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I won't be living in my car and everything. But it also felt like, is this what I should be doing? I asked, I think I called most of my siblings and I talked to them about it. I called two of my best friends and talked to them about it. And of course, my best friends are going to want me to come back. So they're like, yeah, it's a great idea. And I was just like, oh, I don't know what I should do. And I was like, but this is a amazing opportunity. It's $400 for a 3 bedroom. Talked to my youngest brother, who I'm like one of the closest with. And he, ever since our mom passed away, because my two youngest brothers on my mom's side lived with our mom and stepdad. And so ever since she passed away, they moved in with their dad. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to come back to North Carolina. And I was like, and you can move in with me and we could both live there. It's a 3 bedroom. You can come live with me. And I came up with this plan. I was like, I'm going to live there for like 5 months and then I'm going to leave. I'm gonna live there for 5 months. I'll show you how to do everything. I'll show you how to, I guess, like pay the bills, how to work water and stuff. He's never lived by himself, so I was like, I'll live there for 5 months. Me and you. I'll show you everything, and then I'll pick up and leave and go back to LA after I saved up some money. I was like, this is the plan, and he was so down for it. He was like, oh my gosh, this would be great. I'll have my own place. Like, I'll finally get to move out of my dad's place. Like, blah blah blah. That was the plan. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I get to work at the movie theater. I think I picked up somebody's shift. I go to work. I don't know if this was the same day or a day or two later. And I'm working. I tell my job, I tell the theater, I was like, hey, I'm going to be going back to North Carolina. So I'm going to be putting in my 2 weeks right now. Put in my 2 weeks and I go. After putting in my 2 weeks, I go on my lunch break. And on my lunch break, and God God sends me signs in different ways. He shows me signs in dreams. He'll show me. There's literally been a time that I've seen like a sign, like a billboard sign, when I'm like, God, I need help with this. What decision should I make? Where should I go? And I'm passing a sign, and it's like, go there. And I'm like, whoa, okay. And I don't, I'm not like a gullible person where it's just like anything that I see, I'm like that. But it's like if I feel it after seeing some kind of sign, if I feel it in my spirit, then I'm going for it. And so I was like, okay. And I think I prayed whenever I went and sat in my car for my lunch break. And I think I prayed and it was just like, God, like, okay, I just put in my 2 weeks. Please just let me know if I'm making the right decision, if this is right. I'm sitting in my car and yeah, I say a prayer and everything. And I was 10 minutes left of my lunch break. And I was like, let me just go to YouTube. I was like, let me just watch a YouTube video, pass some time. I click on YouTube. The first video that comes up is this guy. Um, I just start watching it, and he's like, don't go back. Um, I don't fully remember what all was said in that video, but I do know that he was like, don't go back. I know this seems convenient. I know this, you're wanting to go back, but do not go back. Not right now. God is saying that breakthrough is coming. Just believe, have faith. Big things are happening in the works. Big things are coming. Do not go back. And I was just like, I think I got teary eyed and maybe even cried because I was like, what? I just told everybody, told all of my family I was coming back, told my aunt I'm going to do it, told my job just now. And I sat there and I was like, are you serious? I think I started crying. So I was like, are you serious? But I felt it in my spirit to not go back. And so I went back into work and I was like, disregard that, because I even sent the email. I told my manager and I was like, you have to send an email for proof and stuff. And so I sent an email back and I was like, disregard that email. And I told my manager, I was like, never mind, I'm not going back. And so I stayed. And yeah. And I lived in my car. I think, for another month. And I met this one guy. And what he did whenever I went over to his place, it wasn't a residential place to live in. The place was actually a studio. And it was a space for a studio, so you could do music, you could do art, just a space. And he lived there. Ooh. Oof. Ooh. I feel like I need to fan myself. Use this to fan myself. Ooh. He used that to live there. He had a doggy, he had a flat screen TV, he had his bed there, he lived there. And so while I was living in my car, I had a moment where I was like, I need to look into this. And so I found the studio. And so I moved into the studio. And I lived there for about 2 months. And in that studio is where I started my podcast that I do now. And it's a podcast that I absolutely love doing. It was like, yeah, that studio was so great because I finally had space and a place to do it, to do this podcast I've been wanting to do for years. You know, I said I love watching, I love TV, I love movies, all of that. I love music, I love pop culture. And so me getting in that studio, I was finally able to start that podcast that I've always wanted to do. And so that's where I started the podcast that I do now, My Pop Heart. Yeah, so that's where I started there. I lived there for 2 months. I lived there and I did my podcast there for 2 months. And towards the end of that second month, it was I think during that second month, there was a slump in pay again at the movie theater. So I wasn't able to stay there in the studio. So I had to move out back to my car again. But, you know, and I had the opportunity at all times to go back, but I was like, no, like God wants me to stick it out. But after living in my car again, I was just like, yeah. I made plans to go visit North Carolina. So I was like, I'm going to go back for 3 months for the holidays. I'm going to spend the holidays, Thanksgiving. No, I think it was Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas in North Carolina. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. ADHD, please do not get better at it. Okay, we're good. So it's like, bam, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go there for the holidays. All of my stuff is still in California. I was like, so this isn't a thing where I'm moving back. All of my things are still in California. I even left my car because there was this guy that I met, really nice, named Randolph. And he was allowing me to keep my car there, and all of my things was like in my car. And I also, and I had some of my stuff in storage at my friend Lee's. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back for the holidays, be there for 3 months. I was like, and I definitely need to be around family. I've went through all of this in California so far. But so I flew, and that was my first time taking a flight ever on an airplane. Flew back to North Carolina, went to North Carolina. Um, yeah, and that 3 months ended up being 7 months. So my flight was coming up, and the first time I canceled was because, first time I had to cancel because the fires started happening in Los Angeles and in Pasadena and Altadena, and like I worked in like Pasadena. And so the fires were happening. So it was like, okay, of course, why would I go back to Los Angeles right now and deal with fires where I'm somewhere safe with family? So I canceled my flight, and I rescheduled it for another date. When that date came, like a month or two after that first cancellation, everything leading up to it was going wrong. I was supposed to help one of my friends' mom do something. She was going to pay me. At that time, I could not get in contact with any of them. Everything was like going wrong. There was a few other things that was just going wrong that I was just like, I'm getting a bad sign. I should not leave right now. So I canceled it, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to book another flight until I have that feeling that I should go. And so one day I was at Dunkin' Donuts. And I was like, let me look at the flights. Because I was at Dunkin' Donuts, and yeah, I was using my laptop, and I was like, let me look at the flights. I'm looking at the flights, but while I'm looking at the flights, I go to YouTube, and Terrell Grice is one of my biggest inspirations. And I actually have that on my podcast about me talking about my inspirations. The episode's called like Giving Out Crowns for season 2. He's one of the crowns that I gave out. And so for inspiration, I'm like listening, I'm looking at this one interview that he's on the Today Show, and he's talking about his journey going from living in the South. Okay, I thought it was, I'm using my hotspot on my laptop, so I thought it was a message saying like, you're running out. Okay. So he's telling about his journey going from South Carolina to LA, that whole journey. And the point of the story, I'm listening to his interview. I'm looking at the flights and the numbers, and I come across this one flight. So the two flights that I canceled before, they were connecting flights going from North Carolina to Denver, Colorado, from Denver, Colorado to LAX. I'm looking this time at the flights, and instead of Denver, Colorado, it's going from North Carolina to Florida, from Florida to LA. Soon as I read that, from Florida to LA, he says in his interview something like, on my drive from Florida to LA, because I guess I don't know if he stopped in Florida from South Carolina, but he talks about his drive from Florida to LA. He says this right while I'm reading Flight from Florida to LA. The same exact time. He says this as I'm reading it on the screen, and I'm like, okay, I'm having a moment. I immediately had a feeling where I'm just like, this is a moment. I was like, God wants me to book this flight right now. That's not a coincidence that both of the times I canceled a flight, my flight was going to go from Colorado to California. And this, for the first time, I'm reading Florida to California, and he is telling this story at the same time about his journey from Florida to California. I was like, this is a moment. So I booked it. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do about this. Like, this flight is in like, I think 3 weeks. But I was like, I'm booking it. Um, so I booked it. I booked it. I was like, I don't know what you got going on, God, but I'm gonna book it. And I booked the flight. I booked the flight. And 3 weeks later, I came out to California. Um, my friend Lee picked me up, and um, he took me back to my car eventually, like 2 days after. But he took me back to my car, and The day that I got my car, I went to Disney. Well, I went to Burbank and I walked around outside of Disney headquarters and I manifested. Um, and I also manifested around, I think, Warner Brothers Studios. I was at that park, like right near it. Warner Brothers Studios and I believe Universal. Yeah, Universal, Warner Brothers, and Disney, but it was mostly Disney headquarters. I walked around it, around the whole headquarters. I just manifested it. I just kept manifesting, and yeah, and and I went to the library in Burbank, and while I was there, I was like, I want to go. I want to be an audience member somewhere. I was like, if I'm going to be in this business one day, in the entertainment business, and I do want to be on a sitcom one day, I am going to be visiting talk shows, daytime and nighttime talk shows. I was like, so why don't I go and be an audience member just to see how it feels, you know? And so I looked it up. I started Googling. Oh my God, my nose is so itchy. I'm so sorry, y'all, because I know this whole time I'm like, so I looked it up on how you could become an audience member, and I found out that it was free for one. And I was like, what? And I downloaded the apps, and I believe that same day I went to on the app they had availability. I believe, yeah, I believe it was that same day there was availability for this late night talk show called After Midnight with Kate Tomlinson. I think that was her name, Kate Tomlinson. I didn't know what it was, but I was like, this is the only one available right now. I think Jimmy Kimmel was already like booked, like sold out. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go. And so I clicked on that and I went. I went by myself. I went, and while we're all waiting out, because you know, if anybody's been an audience member to any of these talk shows, y'all know that it's like a long wait. You have to wait outside and everything. Then you have to sit outside and wait. And while we're waiting, the producers go around to everybody and they ask, "Hey, so we're going to be playing a game on this episode. Would you like to participate?" And most of the people are saying like no, because they're just like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be on TV, like I'm going to be on stage," like, and I was terrified. I was like, "What?" And I just had a feeling of just do it. You have to take those chances. And so when they came and asked me and the two people that I was sitting near, and I was like, I'll do it. I was like, yes, I'll do it. I was scared shitless. Excuse my language. But I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I didn't know that it was like, I thought it was like, once you say you're going to do it, you and a group of people are going to do it. But I didn't know that they go and find out who wants to do it. And it was about 12 people that volunteered to do it. And out of that 12, the producers come together and they pick the three that they want to do it. I didn't know that. So me and the guy that I was beside, we both said we were going to do it. But the producer came up to me after like 5 minutes and was just like, hey, can we come talk? Can you talk to us over here? And I'm like, what's going on? And they pulled me aside and it was just like, hey, so we picked y'all three. It was two other people standing there. And it was like, so we picked y'all three to play the game. Are y'all still wanting to play? And I'm like, yes. And I'm literally like shaking. I'm like, yes. And they give us the rules, and it's called a name game. A bunch of names are going to be on the board. And the three guests of the show, because it's three guests every show, the three guests are going to have to guess what name. So it was my name and the two people I was standing beside, and I guess the other people that volunteered at first, their names on the board. And the guests have to guess what is my name and what is the other two people's name. So basically, to wrap that up, it gets to my turn. Somebody guessed my name was like Braden, and wrong. And the one guy, he was like, okay, I'm gonna guess your name. And my name is Michael, nickname is Melly. And he's like, he's looking at the names and he's like, I can hear like your mom saying like Michael. I can hear your mom saying Michael. And Michael, you don't call me enough, and you don't visit me enough, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't say that he hears anybody else's parents say their name at all this whole time when he's guessing other people's name. But for me, he said, I can hear your mom saying Michael. Nobody knows about my mom being like passed away or whatever or anything. And I made, because I also have a dark sense of humor. And I was like, how do you hear my mom? Like, because we're supposed to like rip off the thing. I was like, how do you hear my mom? She's dead. And I like rip off a thing and it, says my name, like Michael. And they're like, whoa, like everyone. Yeah, I might insert the clip. I don't know. Um, but yeah, it was so crazy because I was like, I was praying leading up to that because I was so nervous. I was shaking the whole time I was sitting in the audience watching the show before the segment that I had to come on there. I was shaking and I was like replaying everything in my mind of just like, oh my God, how is this gonna go? And but I was praying. I was praying when I went to the bathroom. I was praying, but I was also like telling my angels and telling Mama to be with me. I was like, be with me, Mama. Like, please, like, calm me down and like make this go smooth. Which is also crazy that when I stepped on the stage, a lot of my nerves just went away. I was still nervous, but not as nervous. And him saying that I can hear your mom saying your name, it was like, whoa, crazy. And then I had that high moment, and it was so wild because, yeah, I slept in my car that night, and that was my first time sleeping in my car in so long because I was in North Carolina for 7 months. But it felt great sleeping in my car. I was like, well, it wasn't that feeling. It was just like, oh, sleeping in my car. It was just like, oh, like my car. I slept in my car in a Denny's in Hollywood. That next day, I woke up. There was this place where you could go take showers for free. There's just this place. It's on Skid Row, which is nuts. But I knew about this place because my friend Lee told me about it because he does hair people that live on like Skid Row because he's a hairstylist. And so I go. I was like, I need to take a shower. I go and take a shower. While I'm there, it takes longer than expected because there's people in front of me. You have to take a number and you have to wait until the people are done taking the showers. There's multiple showers and I got to clean it, blah, blah, blah. And basically, it takes me 45 minutes to sit there and then to take a shower and to leave. I come outside and my car's gone. My car was repossessed while I was in the shower. So while I was in North Carolina, I got a letter. So the names on my car is my name and my grandmother's name. But it was like mostly her name and I was like co-signed to it. She filed a chapter 13 over a year ago. I think it was a year before that. So in the chapter 13, the car payments was like kind of paused in a way until the chapter 13 was like over or whatever. And so the chapter 13, while I was visiting North Carolina, was like over. So I didn't have to pay like a car payment for a little while, for some months. And so that was lifted. And so we got the letter saying like, hey, start paying those car payments around, take it away. So it was like, and it was so crazy because that day that I did the talk show and stuff, and I slept at Denny's, I was like, okay, whenever I wake up, I'm going to be applying to a lot of places. I was like, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to be hired somewhere before the end of this week. Like, I'm starting to work. I cannot lose this car. And it was so crazy that the day after that, the car is gone. But it was so crazy because I was standing there with my gym bag. And remind you, all of my things are in my car. So all I have is dirty clothes in my gym bag and the clothes that I'm wearing. And it was so crazy because at first I was like a little upset, and then I had a rush, a wave of gratitude. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. I was like, I don't know what you're doing right now, but thank you so much, whatever you're doing, because I know this is just moving your plan along. I don't know what is happening right now. I really don't, but thank you, whatever you're doing. Thank you. And I started crying and I just had so much gratitude. I was like, thank you, Jesus. I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I know that this is just moving the story along, and this is just, and I just started thanking God. I started thanking God, and it was so wild. I've never had a moment like that of something so devastating of just losing your car. This is where you live and your transportation. You're standing in the middle of Skid Row. If you don't know what Skid Row is, look it up. It is one of the most dangerous neighborhoods ever in Los Angeles. It is the biggest homeless community in the one of the biggest homeless communities in the United States, if not. And it's a lot of people that have really bad mental issues and severely mentally unwell, and people that are um, addicts that are there. And I'm standing in the middle of Skid Row, and I'm thanking God, even though He just took my car away and where I'm gonna live. Thank God for my friend Lee. My friend Lee, he picked me up, and also, I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking because I would drink not occasion, maybe like once a week. That would be my like let go thing. I was just I would drink. But in North Carolina, on March 31st, I went to my cousin's house for her birthday. I got like really drunk, and after that, I just was like, I can't do this because my hangovers would be so bad. I have so much anxiety, and I just felt gross, and I just felt like I was wasting so much time because my hangovers would last days. And so March 31st is when I stopped drinking. And not saying that I'm going to be done drinking forever. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But I was just like, enough. So March 31st is when I stopped drinking. And so, yeah. And so all of this is going on in May. All of this is going on in May. Whenever I get back, lost my car. Lee picks me up. He picks me up, and his friends are in the car. They're all drinking. There's beer. They offer me beer. And at a time like that, you want to chug beers. You want to just chug them. You want to double fist. You want to like drink a whole keg. But I was like, I'm not going to do it. And so that was a moment for me that I was really proud, because that's a very stressful time. And to not have a drink is wild. And I had to sit in the middle too. So it was people on both sides, and they were all drinking. And so Lee's friend, because I couldn't stay with Lee because Lee was living at his ex-boyfriend. Him and his ex were still living together, and his ex's parents was living there, so I couldn't stay there. And my friend Monica, because those are the only two friends that I still had that I considered friends. I had people that I worked with at the movie theater, but that was before I left to North Carolina. So Lee and Monica were my only two friends. And Monica just moved back in with her parents. And so she has her kids, her sister lived there, and her mom and her mom's boyfriend, like full house. So he asked his friend Martha. He asked his friend Martha if I could stay there for a week. So I stayed at his friend Martha's for a week. That was difficult because I drank quite a bit, and none of them spoke English. Martha didn't speak English, and the other people that stayed there did not speak English. I was the only one. I didn't know them, so that was difficult, being without my car and staying somewhere where nobody spoke English. So that was isolating. But I continued to just like pray and did my own thing, went to the movies, went to the library, and where are we at now? Oh, and then the office, Martha was through this program. She can't have anybody stay with her. The program that she's in, they partially pay for her to live where she was living. So nobody can live there. The worker came there because a worker would visit there once a week. And when the worker would come, we would have to be gone. Me and the other two people that were staying there. They came and they found out that other people were staying there. She threatened Martha, and she was like, if I come here again and anybody is staying, and there's signs that anybody else is staying here, you're getting kicked out. So unfortunately, I had to move out of Martha's. I had nowhere to go. I couldn't go to Monica's. I couldn't go to Lee's because Lee and his ex were like fighting. They weren't even together anymore. And Lee was about to move out of his ex's place. I had nowhere to go. But I knew God did not want me to go back to North Carolina. Um, so for the first time, I was homeless. I lived in an elevator for 4 days.